The Ironhold space station floated in the cold darkness like a giant metal beast. It was old, heavy, and full of secrets. Thousands of humans lived inside its long corridors, but today the entire station felt strangely silent. Something was wrong, even the machines sounded nervous. On deck 27, a young girl named Leah sat on the floor of a storage room, her knees pulled to her chest. She was only 12 years old, small and quiet, with dark hair that always fell across her eyes. She never spoke much except to one creature, her strange companion Rook, a small honey badger-like being with black fur and two bold white stripes on his head. His round eyes glowed softly like distant moons. Rook sat close beside her, his snout pressed against her arm, breathing slow and calm. He seemed peaceful, but inside him lived something ancient, something dangerous, something not from Earth. Leah understood that better than anyone. She placed a hand gently on Rook's head. "Don't worry," she whispered, "we will be fine." But she didn't fully believe that, because somewhere deep inside the station someone was screaming for help. The sound came through the old static-filled intercom, only for a moment, but Leah heard it clearly. "Anybody, please help us, they are coming." It was a terrified voice, a desperate one, a human one. Then the intercom went silent again, leaving the air cold and empty. Leah felt Rook lift his head, his ears twitched, his muscles tensed. Rook always reacted faster than any human. Leah knew the creature sensed danger in ways she could not understand. She slowly stood up. "We should go," she said, but before she could take a step, the heavy metal door slid open with a harsh screech. A tall figure stepped inside, the warden of Ironhold. Warden Havoc was a man feared by every person on the station. He was large, broad-shouldered, and his cold eyes made people freeze. His uniform was sharp, his boots polished, and his heart hard as stone. He did not smile, he did not show mercy. He believed order mattered more than people. His eyes landed on Leah first, then dropped to Rook. "There you are," he said. His voice was low and full of anger. "I warned you both about hiding in this storage room." Leah did not answer. She simply placed herself slightly in front of Rook. The warden stepped forward. "You heard the emergency call, didn't you?" he asked. Leah nodded slowly. "There is no emergency," Havoc said. "Just fools causing trouble, nothing for child to worry about." But Leah looked into his eyes and felt something strange. The warden was lying, and he knew she knew. Rook growled softly, a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. The warden's eyes narrowed. "That creature," he muttered, "is the reason this station is falling apart. You brought it here, and ever since then panic, fear, strange events." He pointed at Rook with a metal baton he always carried. "I told the council we must remove the beast," Havoc said, "but they still think it is harmless." He stepped closer, baton tapping against his palm. Leah felt a cold fear rising inside her, but she didn't speak. Rook stood beside her. His small form seemed harmless. But something about him, his stillness, his calm breathing, felt like the quiet before a storm. Havoc, full of anger, suddenly swung his baton and struck Rook across the side. The metal hit echoed through the room. Leah gasped. Rook stumbled slightly, then everything became silent. Every machine, every pipe, every vibration in the room seemed to freeze. Havoc smirked. "See, nothing but an animal." But Leah looked at Rook. The creature slowly lifted his head. His eyes glowed brighter, much brighter. His calm breathing became deep and heavy. His claws scraped softly against the metal floor, leaving small marks. Leah whispered one quiet sentence. "That was a big mistake." The warden laughed loudly. "A mistake? Look at it. It has no power here. I am the authority." Rook stared at him unblinking, then something happened that Havoc did not expect. The lights above flickered, once, twice. The circuits hummed like they were afraid. A deep vibration rolled through the station. Havoc frowned. "What is that?" Leah answered softly. "Rook is waking up." Before the warden could respond, the metal door behind him suddenly slammed shut on its own. Sparks burst from the control panel and the lights dimmed to a dark blue glow. Havoc spun around, confused. Who locked the door? Nobody touched it. Nobody had to. Rook took a slow step forward. Havoc lifted his baton again, anger rising. "Stay back. I'll hit you again," but his hands were shaking. Leah watched silently. She had seen Rook angry only once before. It had been enough to destroy half of a derelict alien ship. Rook's fur stood up, but not like an animal preparing to fight. It looked like energy moving beneath his skin, alive, shifting, powerful. Faint blue sparks danced along his claws. Havoc backed up until his shoulders hit the metal wall. What is this?" he whispered. The emergency lights turned red. Sirens began to howl. The intercom crackled again. The same terrified voice returned, more desperate than before. "Anyone, please, something is breaking through the lower levels." They static swallowed the message. Havoc's face turned pale. He tried to open the door again, but it refused to move. Open, damn it," Leah spoke softly. "The station is scared." The warden spun toward her with shock. "Stations don't get scared," but Leah shook her head. "Ironhold is old. It listens, it remembers, and it knows what Rook is." Havoc stared at the creature. Rook was no longer small. His body was stretching slightly, just enough to look unnatural. His muscles thickened. His eyes grew sharper. Dividing pupils appeared like the eyes of a hunter. Havoc dropped his baton. What is that thing?" Leah stepped next to Rook, placing a hand gently on his fur. "He is my friend." Then she looked directly at Havoc. and you heard him." The entire room shook violently as if something deep below them slammed into the station's hull. Dust fell from the ceiling, pipes hissed. Far away, something metallic tore apart. Havoc pressed himself against the wall. "What is happening?" Leah spoke in her calm, soft voice. "Something is coming, something dangerous, and you just woke up the only one who can stop it." Rook's claws scraped across the floor as he turned toward the door. The metal bent slowly outward as if responding to his will. Blue light pulsed beneath his fur, making him look less like an animal and more like a weapon built long ago by someone not human. Havoc felt cold sweat dripping down his face. "You two, you're staying here," he said, forcing his voice to sound strong. "I will deal with whatever came through the hull." But even he did not believe his words. Leah shook her head. "You can't stop it." Rook pushed the door. The thick steel groaned, cracked, and then tore open with a screech that echoed down the dark hallway. Havoc stumbled backward in disbelief. Rook stepped through the opening, eyes glowing brighter than ever. Leah followed close behind him. Havoc yelled after them, voice filled with fear, "Come back, you're breaking station's security protocol." But Leah didn't even turn around. She simply said, "We're answering the call." And then she disappeared into the shadows, following the creature that everyone feared, everyone except her. Behind them, the frightened warden stood alone, shaking in a silent room where all the lights had gone dark. The hallway outside the storage room was long, cold, and filled with a dark blue glow from the failing lights. Leah followed closely behind Rook, her small hand resting on his fur as they walked. The metal floor vibrated beneath them, as if something large was moving in the deeper levels of iron hold. Rook's steps were slow but heavy. Each time his claw touched the ground, the panels hummed in response, like the station itself was waking up. Behind them, Warden Havoc finally forced himself to follow, not because he wanted to, but because he was afraid to stay alone. The lights flickered again, sending long shadows crawling across the walls. The shadows moved strangely, stretching, twisting, almost like they were alive. Havoc swallowed hard. "Stop!" he shouted at Leah and Rook. His voice trembled. Rook didn't stop. Leah turned her head slightly. "What do you want, Warden?" she asked. "You two cannot walk freely. I'm still in charge of this station." He tried to make his voice strong, but fear broke the edges. Leah didn't argue. She simply said, "Something is inside the walls." Havoc froze. "What do you mean inside the walls?" As if answering the question, a deep metallic groan echoed through the corridor. The sound traveled through the pipes like a giant creature dragging its claws along the station's internal frame. Leah pressed her ear gently against the wall. "Something big," she whispered, and angry. Havoc shook his head. "This is madness. Iron pipes don't make sounds like that." Unless he didn't finish, because suddenly a section of the wall bulged inward, metal bent like soft rubber. Havoc stumbled backward in horror. No, that's impossible." Rook stopped walking. His body lowered slightly as he entered a defensive stance. Blue light rolled beneath his fur, tracing patterns like ancient runes. Leah stood beside him, calm but focused. The metal bulge pulsed once, then again. Something on the other side was breathing. Havoc's voice fell to a whisper. "What did you bring to my station?" Leah shook her head softly. "We didn't bring it. It came because of us." The tremor without warning, the wall snapped outward with a violent crash. A shower of metal shards burst into the hallway. Havoc dropped to the floor, covering his head. Leah didn't move. Rook stood between her and the explosion, claws digging into the steel floor. A long crack now ran along the entire wall like a wound in the station's body. A thick black smoke seeped out from inside the crack. Havoc coughed. What is that?" Leah's eyes stayed fixed on the crack. "It's not smoke," she said quietly. Then Rook growled, a deep, rumbling sound that shook Havoc to his bones. Long, thin shapes slid out from the crack. At first they looked like wires, but they moved like living limbs. Havoc's face went pale. "Are those roots tentacles?" Leah shook her head once. "No, they're scouts." The thin black limbs crawled across the floor, the ceiling, the walls. They moved in slow, searching motions like they were sniffing the air, and then they stopped. All of them pointed toward Rook. The hallway turned silent, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Then the limbs retracted at lightning speed, pulling back into the crack as if they had seen a predator, not a prey. Havoc looked at Rook with wide, shaking eyes. "They're afraid of him." Leah nodded. "They should be." The station speaks suddenly. The hallway lights shut off completely. Total darkness swallowed everything. Havoc screamed, "No, not the lights, not now." Then a single red emergency light flickered to life. It wasn't enough to see clearly, only enough to show silhouettes. Rook's glowing eyes were bright in the dark, like two small suns. They scanned every corner of the hall. Leah stood close to him. Havoc stayed far behind them, trembling uncontrollably. A soft voice cracked through the hallway speakers. It wasn't a human voice. It wasn't a machine voice. It was something in between, soft, metallic, and old. "Iron hold listens." Havoc gasped. "Who said that?" Leah didn't seem surprised. "The station." Havoc shook his head violently. "Stations do not talk," but he was wrong. The voice returned stronger. "Warning, breach detected. Unknown organism inside structural layer." Havoc's breathing grew fast. "Unknown organism." The voice continued. "Predator-level threat. Initial target, Rook." Havoc stared at the glowing creature, confusion mixing with terror. "They're here for that animal," Leah corrected him softly, "for what he used to be." The hunter in the walls, something heavy slammed inside the walls again, closer this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. The metal panels warped outward with every impact. Leah's voice stayed calm. "He is not an animal, not to them, not to anyone." Havoc turned to her. "Then what is he?" Before Leah could answer, Rook let out a sharp, thunderous roar that echoed down the entire corridor. It was not the roar of a small creature. It was the roar of something far older, far stronger. Walls went silent. Something inside them stopped moving. Havoc felt a chill crawl up his spine. Was that a warning? Leah shook her head slowly. "No, that was a claim," he echoed, "a territory claim." Her voice lowered. "He told the creature inside the wall that this place belongs to him now." Havoc grabbed his head in disbelief. "You're telling me that thing understands territory, like an intelligent warrior?" Leah nodded once. "He is an unbroken." Havoc froze. What is an unbroken?" Leah finally turned to him fully. "A species built for one purpose, to protect the child they bond with." Havoc stared at her horrified. "You're telling me that creature belongs to you?" "No," Leah said softly. "I belong to him." The first attack, suddenly the wall exploded again, but this time not in a slow, controlled way. Something huge slammed through it. A massive black shape burst into the hallway. It had hundreds of thin limbs, a shifting, liquid-like body, and dozens of glowing eyes that moved across its surface like drifting stars. Havoc screamed louder than he ever had in his life. Leah whispered, "It found us." The creature lunged with a horrific screech, but Rook moved faster than any eye could follow. One moment he was standing still. The next moment he was a blur of blue light. His claws slashed across the creature's limbs, cutting through them like soft rope. A violent shockwave burst from the impact, rattling the walls. The creature stumbled backward, its eyes flickering, its limbs shaking. Havoc watched in terror. That thing is attacking us, we need to run." But Leah didn't move. Rook stood between her and the beast, glowing brighter than ever. "He's not running," she said softly, "so we won't either." The creature screamed again and raised its many limbs to strike, but Rook roared back, louder, deeper, older. The roar shook the entire station. The creature froze, every limb stopped moving, every eye dimmed. Leah whispered a single sentence, "He remembers what he used to be." Then Rook charged, his body glowed like burning metal as he leaped toward the massive creature. Havoc fell to the floor, covering his ears, the hallway filled with the sound of war, ancient war, alien war. Rook struck the creature with a force that cracked the floor open. Blue light exploded outward. The creature slammed into the wall, twitching violently. Then slowly it crawled back into the crack it came from, running. Havoc stared wide-eyed, shaking. It ran from him. Leah nodded. "It will come back with something stronger." Havoc grabbed her arm, desperate. "What do we do now?" Leah looked down the dark corridor. Her voice was calm. "We follow Rook." She pointed to the glowing footprints on the floor. "He knows where the real danger is coming from." The glowing footprints on the floor pulsed softly as Rook moved deeper into iron hold. Leah followed closely, her small steps silent, her eyes sharp. Behind them, Warden Havoc struggled to keep up. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and every explosion of metal behind the walls made him jump. The station felt alive now. The pipes throbbed like veins. The lights flickered like a heartbeat. The air vibrated with an energy that had been sleeping for years. Something had awakened it, or someone, and whatever was inside the walls was not done. Rook stopped suddenly at a cross-section of the hallway. He lowered his head, sniffing the air. His fur glowed brighter, and the metal floor beneath him became warm. Leah placed her hand on his back. "What is it?" she whispered. Havoc stayed far behind them, gasping for breath. Why did he stop? What's he sensing now? Leah didn't answer yet. She listened, not to Rook, but to the station. A faint sound echoed through the corridor. Not metal, not the creature, something else. Voices, human voices. They were coming from one of the lower decks. Rook turned sharply and began walking toward the source. Leah followed. Havoc stumbled after them. The deeper they went, the stranger the station became. Old signs were scratched out. Doors were sealed by melted metal. Symbols, unknown alien symbols, were carved gently into the walls, glowing with faint yellow light. Havoc finally shouted, "Stop, stop!" Leah and Rook turned. Havoc pointed at the glowing symbols. "What are those? Who put those there?" Leah traced one with her finger. "They're not human symbols," she said. Havoc's eyes widened. "What do they mean?" Leah looked up with a calm expression. "They're warnings." The forgotten deck. The three of them reached a door marked Deck 49, restricted access, council permission required. Havoc's voice shook. "This deck was closed years ago. No one is allowed down here." Leah didn't listen. She stepped forward. The door should have been locked, but it slid open on its own. A cold wind rushed out like the breath of something sleeping in the dark. Rook growled softly, not fear, recognition. Leah whispered, "He's been here before." Havoc stumbled backward. "What? No, that creature arrived here only 2 weeks ago. There's no way he..." Leah shook her head. "You found him 2 weeks ago. That does not mean he came then." Havoc stared at her in confusion. What are you saying? Leah didn't explain. She walked inside. Deck 49 was nothing like the upper levels. The walls were older, rougher, covered in dust and strange burn marks. The lights didn't flicker, they were dead. Shadows stretched across the floor like long fingers, and the voices they heard earlier were now louder. Human voices, crying, shouting, begging. Havoc whispered, "People, there are people down here." Leah nodded. Yes. Rook moved ahead, his glowing eyes cutting through the darkness. The voices grew clear now. Someone screamed, "Help, please, someone." Havoc ran toward the sound, his boots echoed loudly in the emptiness. He reached a locked door with a small window. Inside, several crew members huddled together, terrified. "Warden, get us out," one yelled. Havoc smashed the emergency release. The door slid open and the crew rushed out, gasping in relief. A woman grabbed him. "You have to stop it. The thing in the walls, it dragged people down, it hunts us." Havoc tried to calm them, but he was shaking himself. Leah stepped forward. "What did you see?" The crew exchanged terrified glances. One man whispered, "Not a creature, many creatures, moving like one body, but their eyes, those eyes." Another finished for him. "They were all looking for your creature, the one with stripes." All eyes turned to Rook. Rook didn't growl. He simply lowered his head as if accepting something heavy. Havoc grabbed the nearest crew member. "How many did it take? Where did it go?" The man pointed toward the far end of the deck. "Down that way, but don't follow it. It left traps, living traps in the walls." Havoc took a step back, fear returning. Leah walked toward the direction the man pointed. Rook followed her immediately. Havoc called after her, "Stop, we have survivors now, we need to take them to safety." Leah didn't stop. She said only one thing, "They're not the ones it wants." Messages in the dark. As Leah and Rook walked forward, the walls began to change again. Strange patterns carved into the metal glowed faintly in Rook's blue light. Havoc finally ran after them. "Stop going deeper," he shouted. Leah turned to face him. "Warden, Iron Hold is not just a station." Havoc frowned. "What do you mean?" Leah pointed to the glowing patterns. "These symbols, Rook knows them. He reacts to them. That means this place is connected to his past." Havoc shook his head violently. No, this is a human station, a mining outpost. It's not connected to some ancient alien war." But Leah just stared at him calmly. This made Havoc even more nervous. Rook suddenly touched one of the symbols with his claw. Instantly, a holographic image burst from the wall, old, flickering, broken. Havoc stumbled backward. "What is that?" The hologram showed a massive battle in space. Giant ships made of metal and bone firing beams of light, a planet burning, a city collapsing, and in the center of the chaos, dozens of creatures like Rook, fighting like trained soldiers. Havoc's mouth fell open. That's his species," Leah nodded softly. "The Unbroken." The hologram flickered again, showing one of the creatures shielding a child from explosions. Leah whispered, "They were guardians, children were their purpose." Havoc stared at Rook in horror and awe. But those creatures were killing monsters twice their size. They were unstoppable. Leah looked at him with sad eyes. They were not unstoppable. The hologram dissolved into black, then a single image remained, a huge shadowy creature with many limbs, the same kind that crawled through Iron Hold's walls. Havoc stepped back. "That thing, that monster, fought Rook's people." Leah nodded. "And it won." The station remembers. A deep rumbling came from the end of the deck. The floor vibrated, the walls shuddered. Havoc whispered, "It's coming back." Leah nodded. "It remembers the war." She placed her hand gently on the wall. "And the station remembers too." Havoc frowned. "Why would a station remember anything?" Leah looked at him. "Because Iron Hold was not built by humans." Havoc froze. "What? Humans built this station 100 years ago?" "No," Leah whispered softly. "Humans only found it." A long silence filled the hallway. All the glowing symbols on the walls brightened suddenly. The station's old voice echoed again through the speakers. "Warning, ancient threat detected, unbroken entity identified, activating forgotten protocols." Havoc felt the blood drain from his face. "What protocols? What is happening?" The floor panels shifted beneath them, rearranging like moving puzzle pieces. Rook did not panic. He stood tall, fur glowing fiercely. Leah stepped back. She whispered, "Iron Hold is waking up." Suddenly, the metal at the far end of the deck tore open and a massive shape crawled out, taller than any human, covered in shifting black limbs, dozens of glowing eyes, the same creature that fought Rook earlier, but this was only a piece of it, a fragment. It moved like a living shadow, sliding toward them. Havoc screamed. Leah whispered softly, "It wants its enemy back." Rook roared, a thunderous roar that shook the walls. Blue light burst out from his body. Energy swirled around him like a storm. The metal under his feet melted slightly. Rook stepped in front of Leah. The creature in the dark stopped moving. For a moment, the entire deck was silent. Then the monster opened its jaws, revealing rows of sharp, shifting teeth, and charged. Rook met it head-on. The station shook violently as the two ancient enemies collided once again. And in that moment, Leah understood something terrible. This was not a new battle. This was a battle that had begun long before she was born, and Iron Hold remembered all of it. The collision between Rook and the shadow creature shook Deck 49 like a thunderstorm trapped inside metal walls. Sparks exploded, panels cracked, dust rained from above like gray snow. Warden Havoc was thrown backward by the shockwave, slamming into a railing hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. He crawled behind a support beam, trembling. He had seen battles before, pirates, riots, even alien raiders, but nothing like this. Rook didn't look like an animal anymore. He looked like a memory of war. Blue light poured from his body with each strike, each roar, each movement. Every time his claws hit the creature, the metal under their feet burned with glowing lines, as if some old power deep in iron hold was awakening. The monster of limbs and shifting eyes shrieked, its voice like metal screaming. It lunged again. Rook slammed into it. The sound was like a bomb exploding. Leah watched without blinking. Her heartbeat was fast, but her expression was calm, too calm for a child. She whispered softly, "Rook remembers. He always remembers." Havoc could barely hear her through the ringing in his ears. What is he doing?" he shouted. Leah turned her head slightly. "He is protecting me." "That thing is huge," Havoc shouted. "He can't win." But Leah shook her head gently. "He doesn't need to win." Havoc stared at her as if she were speaking nonsense. "What does that mean?" Leah looked into the battlefield. "It means he only needs to hold it off because something worse is waking." A chill passed down Havoc's spine. "Worse?" Leah nodded once. "What you see now is only a scout. The real one is still coming." The walls bleed light suddenly. The entire deck turned red, not from alarms, from the walls themselves. Red fissures like glowing wounds spread across the metal. They pulsed like veins filled with lava. Havoc pressed his back against the railing, horrified. "What is happening to this place?" Leah placed her palm on the glowing symbols beside her. The symbols changed color from yellow to red to deep, angry orange. The station's voice returned, but this time it sounded strained, almost in pain. "Protocol Red Dawn activating." Unbroken presence confirmed. Threat level catastrophic. Havoc's heart pounded. "This station is alive. Why is it talking like that?" Leah didn't answer. Rook roared again. The creature slammed him against the wall. Metal buckled inward like soft clay. Rook dropped to one knee, shaking his head, blue sparks falling from his fur like fireflies. "Rook," Leah cried out, taking a step forward. Havoc grabbed her arm. "Stay back," he shouted. "You can't get close. That thing will rip you apart." Leah didn't struggle, but she looked at Havoc with eyes far older than 12. "He won't let anything touch me," and as if to prove her right, the creature lashed out with a long blade-like limb, but Rook blocked it with his entire body, pushing the blow away with raw force. The limb sliced deep into the floor, sending sparks flying. Rook's eyes glowed brighter than ever. Blue light began dripping from him like liquid, falling onto the ground and burning small holes through the metal. Havoc stared. "He's bleeding light," Leah whispered. "He's changing." Something behind the red light. The battle continued, violent and unending, but then a new sound echoed through the deck. A heavy, slow breathing sound, not from the creature, not from Rook, from the walls themselves. The metal expanded and contracted slightly with each breath. The red fissures widened, revealing glowing structures beneath, almost like bones of fire. Havoc shook his head violently. No, stations don't breathe, they don't," Leah interrupted, her voice calm. "Iron Hold was a war relic. Humans didn't build it, they only renamed it." "What was it before?" Havoc demanded. Leah touched the glowing wall gently. "A battlefield tomb." The station's voice crackled again, distorted like it was waking from a nightmare. "Unbroken signature detected." Releasing memory layer, the floor beneath them rippled. Images, holograms shot out everywhere, not clear ones, fragmented ones, explosions, screaming, unbroken soldiers fighting creatures of shadows, planets breaking, children crying. Havoc stumbled back, covering his ears. "Make it stop, make IT stop." But Leah watched, eyes wide, absorbing everything. "This is the truth," she murmured. "This station saw the war, and it remembers every death." The creature evolves. The shadow beast lunged at Rook again, but this time its limbs crackled with red energy pulled from the bleeding walls. Leah gasped. "It's feeding on the station." Havoc's voice cracked. "Feeding from a building?" "Yes," Leah said, "because the station is alive enough to bleed, and whatever bleeds is food to a hunter." The beast's body grew larger, stronger, its limbs multiplied, slithering across the floor like a nest of serpents. Rook backed up, breathing hard. Blue light swirled around him in sharp, wild pulses. Havoc shouted, "He's losing, the monster is getting stronger." Leah didn't move, her voice was soft. "No, Rook is just remembering how to fight." The unbroken awakening Rook's body began to tremble violently, his fur lifted, his spine glowed, his claws extended long enough to cut through steel. And the blue light dripping from his wounds began crawling back upward, flowing into his body like water returning to a river. Havoc's mouth fell open. "He's absorbing his own energy." Leah nodded. "Unbroken heal differently, they don't repair, they evolve." Rook lifted his head, his eyes, once soft, were now sharp like twin blades of sapphire. He stepped forward, each step left a crater of melted metal behind. The creature hissed, its many eyes widening. For the first time, it looked frightened. Havoc whispered, "It's scared of him." Leah whispered back, "Everyone is." Rook speaks without words. Rook opened his jaws, but instead of sound, a powerful wave of blue energy blasted from him, hitting the creature and slamming it against the wall with bone-breaking force. The shadow thing screeched, limbs thrashing wildly. The walls around it cracked. Then something unbelievable happened. The wall behind the creature opened like a mouth. a circular hole of red light glowing and pulsing, swallowing the creature's body piece by piece. Leah gasped. The station is helping him. Havoc shook his head violently. It's pulling the monster inside. Leah nodded. Ironhold hates what the monster is. And what is it? Havoc choked out. Leah looked directly into the red hole. The same thing that destroyed Rook's world. The creature's last strike. As the creature was being dragged into the glowing maw of the wall, it lashed out with one desperate limb straight toward Leah. Havoc screamed. No, he ran, not because he was brave. Because the girl was the only hope he had left, but he would never reach her in time. The limb shot forward, fast, sharp, deadly, but Rook moved faster, much faster. He threw himself between Leah and the attack. The limb pierced his shoulder deep, almost to the bone. Rook roared in pain. Leah screamed his name for the first time, Ruuk. The creature's final attack ended as it vanished into the burning hole in the wall. The hole sealed shut. Silence fell on deck 49. Rook staggered backward, collapsing to one knee. Blue energy poured from the wound like liquid fire. Leah ran to him, hugging him tightly, tears falling onto his fur. Havoc approached slowly, terrified but moved. He whispered, He protected you even when he was dying. Leah shook her head fiercely, crying. He isn't dying. She looked up, her eyes fierce. He's changing again. The second awakening, the entire deck turned blue, not the old emergency blue, a pure radiant alien blue. The wound in Rook's shoulder closed. The light pouring from him grew so bright Havoc had to shield his eyes. The metal around Rook melted into pools of silver. Leah stepped back slowly. Her voice trembled as she spoke. He is entering the second form. Havoc stumbled backward. What does that mean? Leah stared at Rook, eyes wide. It means the real battle is about to begin. The blue light pouring from Rook filled the entire deck like a rising ocean. Every metal wall glowed as if a sun had been buried inside the station. Havoc shielded his face, terrified but unable to look away. Leah stepped back slowly, her eyes wide with awe. Rook was not just glowing, he was transforming. His bones stretched, reshaped. His claws grew sharper. His fur no longer looked like fur, it looked like strips of metal woven with light. His body pulsed, rising and falling as if breathing a storm. A deep hum built in his chest, a vibration that spread through the entire floor. Havoc stumbled backward until he hit the wall. What is he turning into? He whispered. Leah spoke softly, her voice shaking. He's becoming what he was always meant to be. Havoc's breath turned cold. And what is that? Leah looked up at him. A warrior. Rook lifted his head. His eyes, once soft and round, were now blazing blue shards. Shaped like the eyes of something ancient, something built for battle. The metal under him cracked. He rose to his full height, almost twice as tall as before. Leah whispered, his second form. Havoc swallowed hard. But why now? Why here? Before Leah could answer, the deck shook violently. A low groan came from beneath them, then a loud cracking sound, and suddenly the floor split open. Leah screamed as she slipped toward the open gap, but Rook's newly elongated tail wrapped around her waist, pulling her safely back. Havoc clutched a railing to avoid falling. What is happening now? He yelled. Leah pointed at the floor, her voice trembling. It woke up. Awakening the core from the crack in the floor, glowing red smoke poured out, but it wasn't smoke, it was energy, old, ancient, angry energy. The station voice returned, but this time it sounded alive. Awake. Fully conscious, unbroken core detected, initiating heart protocol. Havoc shook his head violently. The heart protocol, that file was locked, no one knows what it means. Leah spoke without turning. It means the station remembers its creator. Havoc stared at her. You mean Rook's people built this place? Leah shook her head slowly. No, something older built it, something even Rook's species feared. The floor crack widened, forming a circle. A circular platform rose from the opening, covered in alien symbols and glowing wires. Rook approached it. Leah followed. Havoc remained frozen. Rook placed one clawed hand on the glowing platform. Instantly, the entire station screamed. Lights flickered, walls shook. Every hallway on Ironhold howled like a waking monster. Havoc fell to his knees, covering his ears. Make IT stop, make IT stop. But Leah stood still, letting the vibrations pass through her. She whispered. It's talking to him. Havoc stared. To him about what? Leah took a slow breath. It's showing him the future. Visions of what comes next. A beam of blue light shot from the platform into Rook's chest. His eyes flashed white. His body stiffened. The entire room dissolved into swirling images, visible only faintly like ghosts trapped in light. Havoc finally forced himself to stand. What are those pictures? Leah watched carefully. A battlefield appeared. Earth but broken, cities collapsing under giant shadow creatures. Humans running, unbroken warriors falling one after another. Then the creature Rook fought earlier, but larger, so large it blotted out the sun. Havoc choked. That monster, it's coming here. Leah nodded. That was only a fragment. The real one is still traveling, following the scent of the unbroken. Havoc nearly collapsed. So this station were a target. Leah whispered, yes. Rook roared, not in anger, but in pain. His eyes flashed again, and the images changed. A small girl, Leah, standing alone inside a destroyed station, shadow creatures closing around her, and then blue light exploding outward, but too late. Havoc swallowed loudly. That's her future. Leah's face fell. No, that was the future if Rook doesn't complete his second form. She looked at Rook, her eyes full of fear and hope. But he is changing, and that means the future is changing too. The enemy below suddenly, all light disappeared. The platform stopped glowing. The visions ended. The deck shook again harder than before. Leah spun around. Havoc froze. From beneath the cracked floor something enormous moved. A long, armored limb rose out of the darkness, then another and another. Havoc screamed, "No, no, no, not again," but this was not the same creature. This one was bigger, much bigger. Its limbs resembled black spears covered in glowing red runes. Its eyes, dozens of them, opened like lanterns in the dark. A mouth of shifting teeth spread into a wide grin. Leah whispered, "That's a hunter class." Havoc shook his head, terrified. "A what?" Leah explained with a dead calm voice. "The scouts find the unbroken, the hunters kill them." Havoc took several steps back. "No, no, 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 we need soldiers, guns, cannons." Leah cut him off. "They won't help. Humans' weapons are too weak. This creature isn't made of flesh. It's made of living darkness." Rook stood before the rising giant, his body glowing brighter, claws sharper, tail stretched like a spear. He did not step back. The hunter-class creature opened its mouth wider. It spoke, not in words, in vibrations, low, terrible vibrations that rattled Havoc's bones, but Leah understood it. She always understood them. "It's calling to Rook," she whispered. Havoc shook uncontrollably. What is it saying?" Leah closed her eyes. "Repeating the message. You survived the last war, but you will not survive this one." Rook's answer. Rook lowered his head. His glow became brighter, brighter, blinding. The deck melted under his feet. He stood between Leah and the monster, a wall of living blue fire. And then Rook growled a single long, powerful sound. It wasn't a roar, it wasn't a cry, it was a message. A message only the hunter class could understand. Leah translated softly. He said, "She is mine, and I am unbroken." The hunter screeched, its limbs charged upward. The deck screamed. Havoc dropped to the ground, covering his head, and Rook attacked. The clash that woke the station's heart. The collision was so powerful that iron hold tilted, lights exploded, beams cracked. The entire station groaned like a dying giant. Rook slashed across the hunter's face. Blue light cut deep into the dark armor. The hunter roared, swinging 5 limbs at once. Rook dodged 2, blocked 1 with his tail, and absorbed the last 2 hits with his glowing arms. The impact threw him backward into a wall. Leah screamed, "Rook!" The hunter lunged at her. Havoc jumped in front of Leah without thinking. He held up both hands. "No, you won't touch her." The hunter ignored him. He was too small, too weak, too human. A limb swung down to crush him, but Rook intercepted it midair. Havoc froze. Alive only because Rook moved faster than death. Rook pushed the limb away and growled, blue lightning exploding from his shoulders. Leah grabbed Havoc's hand. "Don't move," she whispered. "Rook will protect us." Havoc felt tears in his eyes. He whispered back, "But he can't protect you forever." Leah shook her head. "He doesn't need forever, he only needs today." The hunter let out a final roar, gathering all its limbs for one massive strike. Rook stood still. The blue glow around him condensed into a tight sphere. And then he unleashed everything, a shockwave of pure blue light, hotter than flame, brighter than lightning. The wave hit the hunter dead center. The monster screamed as its body cracked, splintered, then dissolved into dark ash. The deck collapsed around them. The red fissures in the walls finally dimmed. An iron hold fell silent. Rook collapsed to one knee. Leah ran to him. Havoc followed, stunned, shaking, overwhelmed. Leah hugged Rook's glowing neck. "You won, Rook, you won," but Rook did not rise. His glow flickered, his breath weakened. Havoc knelt beside them. Is he dying?" Leah looked up at Havoc with a face full of fear. "No, he's not dying." A long silence followed. Her next words were soft, terrifying. "He's preparing for his 3rd form." Havoc's eyes widened. "How many forms does he have?" Leah answered quietly. "Enough to stop the real one who is coming." She looked into the melting floor. The king class. Iron hold had finally stopped shaking. The blue light from Rook dimmed to a soft pulse like a tired heartbeat. The air was thick with the smell of melted metal and burnt shadow. The deck was cracked, broken, and glowing in places from where the hunter-class creature had died. Leah knelt beside Rook, her hands shaking slightly as she touched his warm, glowing fur. "Rookie, please wake up," she whispered. Rook's chest rose and fell. Slow and heavy, his new powerful form had taken everything from him. His claws, long as steel knives, were cracked. His tail was bent. The plates of glowing armored fur on his back flickered in uneven lights. He was alive, but barely. Warden Havoc stood a few steps away, breathing heavily. His face was pale, clothes torn, hands shaking, yet his eyes stayed fixed on Rook with a strange mix of fear, respect, and something else. "Guilt. Kid," Havoc whispered. "That thing, that blue monster, he saved us again." Leah didn't look at him, her voice cracked softly. "He isn't a monster." Havoc hesitated, then nodded. I know that now." But the silence didn't last long. A deep boom echoed through the station, so deep the floor vibrated as if a giant heartbeat shook the walls. Havoc stumbled. "Not again, please, not again." Leah felt her stomach twist. She knew that sound. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't metal breaking. It was a signal, a call, the echo of something massive entering the system. Leah looked up slowly. Her voice became hollow. "It found us." Havoc frowned. "What found us?" Leah answered with words no human should ever say, the king class. The air suddenly felt colder. The king arrives deep in the bones of iron hold, lights flickered, decks groaned, pipes shook. Something enormous had entered the edges of space near them, something big enough to warp reality around it. Havoc grabbed a railing as the deck trembled again. What is a king class? Leah swallowed hard, the leader of the shadow creatures, the one that destroyed Rook's world, the one the hunters serve. Havoc felt his heart drop like a stone. You mean the giant thing in those visions, the one bigger than a city? Yes, Leah whispered, and it's looking for Rook. The lights above them flickered violently, then they went completely black. Darkness swallowed everything. Havoc screamed. No, 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 not the lights. But then a new light appeared, not blue, not red, golden. A soft golden glow hummed through the corridor. Lines etched themselves onto the walls, ancient symbols lighting up like rising stars. Leah gasped. The station, it's responding. Havoc stared around in confusion. Responding to what? Leah stepped toward the glowing walls. Rook's third form. The station prepares for war. Suddenly, the station's voice echoed through the darkness. Not robotic, not weak, powerful, awake. King-class entity detected. Havoc nearly collapsed. Unbroken protector incomplete. Leah clenched her fists, preparing core chamber for evolution. Havoc blinked. Evolution, the station is helping him evolve. Leah nodded slowly. This was always its purpose. The floor beneath Rook glowed golden. Symbols moved like living patterns, forming a circle around him. The air grew warm. Rook's body began to rise from the ground, slowly, gently lifted by invisible force. Havoc gasped. He's floating. Leah smiled softly, tears still on her cheeks. He's not floating, he's being called home. The king's voice, then the sound came, a deep rumbling vibration that didn't hurt the ears, it hurt the soul. Havoc dropped to his knees, clutching his head. Leah trembled, gripping the wall. The sound was not a noise, it was a voice. A voice so old it felt like time itself was speaking. Leah whispered through the shaking, that's the king class talking. Havoc screamed through the pain, what is it saying? Leah listened closely. The voice was slow, heavy, echoing across space. It spoke like a god waking from a long sleep, and it said, the last unbroken hides in the metal nest. I am coming to claim what is mine. Havoc felt the blood leave his face. Leah whispered, it wants Rook dead because Rook is the last of his kind. Rook awakens again. Rook's glowing body floated higher. His heartbeat was loud now like a drum. The golden symbols intensified. Metal plates formed around him like armor, layer after layer rising from the ground and attaching to his body. Havoc's jaw dropped. He's turning into a war machine. Leah nodded. His third form is the battle form. Suddenly Rook's eyes snapped open. White light burst from them. He roared, a massive, powerful, shaking roar that cracked the deck and sent shockwaves through the corridor. The golden circle around him exploded into bright shards that spun in the air like stars. Havoc shielded his face. Leah stepped forward, smiling through tears. Rook, you're back. Rook landed on the deck with a heavy thud. He looked completely different now. His body was covered in layered metal armor that moved like living muscle. His tail split into two sharp blades. His ears were longer, sharper. His claws glowed with white-hot fire. Havoc stared in disbelief. That's not an animal anymore. Leah nodded proudly. That is an unbroken warrior. Rook lowered himself so Leah could touch his head. She hugged him. I knew you'd wake up. Havoc whispered, kid, this thing, he's our last hope, isn't he? Leah turned. Her face was serious. He's Earth's only hope. The king won't stop after killing him. It will destroy the station. And then she swallowed hard. It will go for every other human colony. Havoc felt cold water run through his veins. This is bigger than us. Leah nodded. Yes, this is war. The king draws near. The entire station trembled again. Louder, harder, metal groaned. Alarms blared. Lights erupted red. The station voice boomed. King-class vessel entering system. All decks prepare for impact. Havoc grabbed the nearest railing. How big is this thing? Leah looked out a nearby cracked window. Her breath caught in her throat. A massive shape blotted out the stars. Not a ship, not a creature. Something in between. A living fortress of shadow and bone. Leah whispered, that is a king-class. Rook stepped beside her, his claws dug into the floor, his armor glowed white. He wasn't afraid, he was ready. Ironhold's heart opens. The golden light on the floor spread across the deck, creating pathways of energy leading deeper into the station. The voice spoke again, unbroken warrior, proceed to central heart. Final protocol will begin. Havoc frowned. What's the final protocol? Leah answered with a trembling voice. It's a weapon. Havoc swallowed. A weapon strong enough to kill the king. Leah nodded. Yes, but the heart only unlocks for an unbroken. Rook growled and stepped toward the glowing path. Leah followed him. Havoc hesitated. What about me? What do I do? Leah turned with a small smile. Get behind, try not to die. Havoc sighed. Good advice, kid, but he followed anyway, because even a coward can become brave if the world is ending. The path of the unbroken. As they walked deeper into Ironhold, the walls shifted and rearranged around them. The station was becoming a weapon too, awakening for the first time in thousands of years. Golden light pulsed with each step Rook took. It was clear now the station was not just reacting to him, it was obeying him. Because the unbroken were not visitors here, they were masters. Leah whispered proudly, he's walking the path his ancestors built. Havoc looked around wide-eyed. And where does it lead? Leah pointed ahead to the heart chamber. Rook growled, his claws clicked on the glowing floor. He knew the way because he had been born for this war, born for this moment, and the king class was almost here. The final war was coming, and Rook was ready. Ironhold groaned like an old titan waking from a long sleep. The walls reshaped themselves. The floors pulsed with golden veins. Deep inside, something ancient moved for the first time in thousands of years. Rook walked at the front, his new armored body glowing like a small star, claws bright as white fire. Eyes sharp as twin blades, tail split glowing with cutting light. Leah walked beside him, small, calm, not afraid. Warden Havoc followed behind, clutching a broken metal pipe like a weapon, even though he knew it was useless. Yet he did not stop. Even a weak man could choose not to run. The golden path beneath their feet led them deeper into Ironhold's core. The air grew warm, the lights grew brighter. The sound of distant engines, sleeping engines, rumbled through the deck. Havoc panted, "Kid, where exactly are we going? The whole station is moving like it's alive." Leah answered softly, "We're going to the heart chamber." "And what is that supposed to do?" Havoc asked. Leah's small fingers brushed the glowing wall. "It is the place where unbroken warriors finish their evolution." Havoc froze. "Finish? You mean Rook isn't done?" Leah shook her head. "No, he is only at the beginning." The king approaches suddenly. A deafening roar ripped through the station, not from inside, from the outside. The king class had arrived. Ironhold shook violently as the monstrous ship creature slammed into orbit around it. The walls rattled, panels snapped, dust fell like gray snow. Havoc grabbed the wall to stay upright. "What is that thing doing?" Leah swallowed. "It is preparing to tear the station open." Havoc stared at her. "Tear the station open?" Leah nodded. "The king always kills the unbroken by crushing the ground they stand on." Another deep vibration shook everything. Something massive slammed against Ironhold, testing its strength. Rook growled, eyes burning white-hot. He understood the challenge. He accepted it. The Hall of Echoes, the path led them into a huge chamber so large it could fit a small city. Tall pillars glowed with shifting golden patterns. The floor was reflective metal, showing their reflections like water. In the center stood a pedestal, floating on a column of light. Leah whispered in awe, "This is the Hall of Echoes." Havoc turned in slow circles, stunned. "This place, the humans never found it. We lived here for years and never saw this." Leah touched one of the pillars. It stayed hidden, waiting for an unbroken to return. Rook stepped into the center. The pedestal floated down toward him. It contained a single object, a small sphere, silver, pulsing faintly. "Alive," Leah gasped. "The heart seed." Havoc frowned. "What does it do?" Leah whispered. "It awakens Rook's final form." Rook's choice. Rook stared at the heart seed. His breathing slowed, his claws retracted. For a moment he looked like the small honey badger creature who once followed Leah everywhere. Leah stepped closer. "Rook, are you scared?" she whispered. Rook did not move, but even Havoc could feel it. The seed wasn't a power-up, it was something heavier, a burden. Leah touched Rook's face, her voice cracked. "If you take it, you won't be the same anymore." Havoc's eyes widened. "You mean he'll change forever?" Leah nodded. "Final form unbroken don't stay small, they don't stay gentle, they turn into something made only for war." Havoc whispered, "A weapon?" Leah's eyes filled with tears. "No, a shield." Rook lowered his head. He knew what he must do. He nudged Leah gently as if saying goodbye. Leah hugged him tightly. "I'm here," she whispered. "I won't leave you." Then Rook turned and swallowed the heart seed. The final evolution, the entire station exploded with golden light. Rook's body convulsed, his armor expanding, shifting, cracking, streams of white energy cutting through the air. Havoc covered his face. Leah didn't look away. She watched her friend become a warrior of legends. Rook rose from the ground. His body stretched, grew, widened until he towered 3 times his old size. His armor fused into organic metal plates. His eyes turned into twin burning suns. His claws glowed white. A crest of glowing blades emerged along his spine. He looked like a guardian built by gods. Havoc whispered, "By all stars, what is he now?" Leah whispered back, "He is unbroken fully." Rook roared. The sound wasn't just loud, it shook the soul. The walls responded, the entire station responded, activating ancient engines deep underground. And then the roar of the king-class creature answered from the void outside. The final battle had begun. The king breaks through. Ironhold ceiling cracked violently as the king-class forced its way through the outer hull. Black limbs pierced the metal. Eyes like burning red moons glared down. Havoc screamed, "It's here, it's here." A massive limb shot through the ceiling trying to crush them, but Rook leaped upward, faster than gravity, faster than fear. His claws met the king's limb and cut through it like slicing smoke. Dark blood exploded outward. The king-class let out a thunderous, universe-shaking howl. The walls shook. The chamber cracked, but Rook did not fall. He landed in front of Leah, protecting her like a mountain of living metal. Leah whispered, "Rook, go." He turned his head toward her and she said the words no child should ever have to say, "Save us, even if I'm not next to you." Rook nodded slowly. He understood. Rook vs. the king. The ceiling ripped apart as the king class forced more limbs inside. Shadow tendrils, claws, teeth. It was a nightmare given form, but Rook sprinted toward it, a comet of white fire. He leaped upward, slammed into the king's face, and unleashed a blast of energy so bright it turned night to day. The king roared, shadows peeling away like smoke, but it wasn't dead. It struck back. A massive limb slammed Rook into a wall, crushing metal like paper. Leah screamed, "Ruuk!" But Rook burst from the debris, glowing hotter than ever. He tore into the king class again, ripping, slicing, burning with all the fury of a dying species. Havoc watched in awe. "I've never seen anything fight like that," Leah whispered. "This is what the unbroken were born to be." The end of a monster, the king class pulled itself deeper into the core chamber. It reached for Leah, but Rook intercepted it, not with claws, with sacrifice. He tackled the king class into the heart chamber core, a place no shadow creature could survive. The golden light intensified. The king class screamed, its body fractured, splitting, burning, crumbling, until it turned into ash and vanished completely. Silence. A silence deeper than space. The king class was gone forever. The warrior falls. Rook staggered. His white glow dimmed. His armor cracked. His legs shook. Leah ran toward him. Rook, please stay with me." Havoc grabbed her shoulders, trying to pull her back. "He's too hot, kid, you'll burn." But Leah pushed forward. She placed her hands on Rook's scorched metal face. "Please don't leave me." Rook lowered his massive head onto the floor, right into Leah's lap. His eyes flickered weakly. Leah whispered, sobbing, "You protected me, you always did." Rook's eyes glowed softly, then slowly, peacefully dimmed. But not gone. The station lights glowed golden again. The voice whispered softly, "Unbroken warrior, life force dormant, not destroyed." Leah looked up with hope. "He's alive." The voice answered, "He sleeps until the next war calls him." Leah hugged Rook's head tightly. "I'll wait," she whispered. "I'll wait a lifetime." Havoc placed a hand gently on Leah's shoulder. "We all will, kid."